Thank you. I would like to recognize the presence of the Honorable E.P. Chet Green, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Immigration. Minister Green also has responsibility for diaspora affairs. Welcome, Minister. It's a pleasure to see you and to have you join us this afternoon. In a few minutes. Oops. Sorry. What's happening?
Always a pleasure, CJ.
I'm sorry for that glitch there. Ambassador Joseph will be introducing Minister Green in a few minutes. I just wanted to mention that this evening's forum is a direct response to interest expressed by the Antigua and Barbuda community and other stakeholders to learn more about the investment opportunities in Antigua and Barbuda. This forum would not have been possible without the collaboration and support of Ambassador Gavin Joseph and his team. Ambassador Joseph is the Development Commissioner, and he is also an advisor to Prime Minister Gaston Brown and a former senator in the Parliament of Antigua and Barbuda. He is also Antigua and Barbuda's commissioner to the International Whaling Commission and non-resident high commissioner to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He is also responsible for the Willoughby Bay Development Initiative, which is one of the major post-COVID-19 programs which instituted by the government of Antigua and Barbuda. I'd also like to recognize our distinguished presenters. We have with us Mr. Kevin Edwards, Mr. Darwin Telemack, Mr. Garfield Joseph, Mr. Henderson Fields, Mr. Jermaine Jarvis, Mr. Frederick Southwell. We will introduce them later in the program. But for now, I'd like to hand the floor over to Ambassador Joseph.
Thank you very much, Madam Consul General, Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, International and Regional Trade, and with responsibility for the diaspora, the Honorable E.P. Chet Green, Madam Consul General, Miss Anne-Marie Lane, members of the diaspora, and my fellow members of our committee. We are very pleased that the Consul General of Canada for Antigua and Barbuda realized the importance of engaging our diaspora in Canada in discussions with us with regards to national development and business and investment opportunities in our country. Indeed, this is very important for us in Antigua and Barbuda because I don't know how many people realize that between 1980 and the year 2000, more than 40,000 Antiguans emigrated legally out of Antigua and Barbuda. And the vast majority went to the United States of America and to Canada. So the government of Antigua and Barbuda, especially our minister, Mr. E.P. Chet Green, realized the critical importance of engaging our diaspora in developmental and socioeconomic issues in Antigua and Barbuda. it is our belief that this is particularly important because we recognize the potential that lies within our diaspora for investment in Antigua and Barbuda. We believe that developmental project in our country must first of all be given to our nationals, which include our diaspora. We believe that Antigua and Barbuda have many investment opportunities that will be able to have significant return to capital when proper investment decisions are made through planning and understanding the rules and the opportunities and the concessions that the government will offer to members of our diaspora who wants to invest in the island, which we all call our home. In that respect, I would like to take this opportunity to place on record our gratefulness and congratulations to the Secretary General for using, the Consul General, I'm sorry, for using her initiative to engage us with our diaspora in Canada. We have a full package for you tonight with several opportunities and also critical information as to how you can realize your investment goal in Antigua and Barbuda. So we're encouraging you to engage in frank and candid discussions with us with regards to realizing the goals that we have set to ensure that our diaspora is fully integrated in the developmental process which we are formulating in Antigua and Barbuda. Minister Green has an extremely deep interest in ensuring that our goals are met as far as the involvement of the diaspora is concerned.
Thank you, Ambassador Joseph. I think the introductions that you have proffered tonight are longer than the presentation I'll make.
Anything goes wrong with the thing, this thing broke here, it's your chair.
And I am considering a full-time job for you to introduce me in the international arena. But let me also recognize here this evening Consul General Anne-Marie Lane, other members of the staff at the Consul, Antiguans and Barbudans in the diaspora, other guest speakers here tonight, and persons invited for this specific purpose of addressing the issue of investment here in Antigua Barbuda. I refer to persons, Kevin Edwards, Garfield Joseph, Henderson Fields. It's indeed a pleasure for me to join a conversation with Antiguan and Barbudans in the Canada diaspora, looking at the national economy, the reset of the economy, and more critically, the invitations extended to Antiguans and Barbudans to invest in the rebuilding of Antigua and Barbuda post-pandemic. Let me also, from the get-go, bring you greetings from Prime Minister Gaston Brown and the Cabinet of Ministers, and to commend and congratulate at the same time the organizers of this very important initiative, which is for success, ultimate success. And by that I mean Antiguans and Barbudans in droves, moving beyond the traditional typical remittances and casual relationship with the rock to a more profound involvement in the reset of the Antigua-Barbuda clock post-COVID. It's also timely that I extend sympathies to those members of the Antigua-Barbuda diaspora in Canada who would have lost loved ones during this pandemic period. Those sympathies I extend to you are not only personal, but on behalf of the entire nation of Antigua and Barbuda and all its people. An engagement with the diaspora is always, for me, a special moment. And those are the rights amidst the flurry activities today. I could not allow this moment for conversation with Antiguans and Barbudans in Canada to miss me, because it represents the fulcrum of our existence. That is sharing our experiences, collaborating, conversing, and even disagreeing in some instances about the future direction of our beloved country. It is safe to conclude that all of us assembled here this evening, whatever our numbers are here because we share common love of and for Antigua and Barbuda, and a desire to see our country bound post-COVID to become the economic powerhouse that not we only dream of, but that we're committed to working to ensuring. No amount of praise, as I said earlier, is too much for Consulate and the staff for facilitating this exercise tonight. And again, I commend you and give you fullest kudos. Whilst the engagement tonight specifically speaks to investment in Antigua Barbuda, I, as your Minister with responsibility for diaspora relations, or affairs rather, would want to give you, the Canadian diaspora family, a short synopsis of things happening in Antigua Barbuda, some of which you may very well know because the news travels, some of which you may not know because sometimes the news and the good stories remain hidden. But I'm to advise you that so serious are we taking the diaspora relations and the affairs that in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Trade, there is now a full-time operational desk headed by Elliston Nambalumbu Nambalala Adams with responsibility for diaspora affairs. We want to make sure that the Antiguan and Barbudan community around the world is well served, is kept in touch and informed about developments at home. So serious are we about the investment prospects and the invitation of Antiguans to invest in the economy that for the first time, and so far the first of its kind in the Caribbean region, a dedicated website has been created to shepherd persons through investment opportunities and to alert you of the prospects and the offerings in the Antiguan economy. The website is antiguabarbuda.com, and there you will find the necessary portal to lead you to investment opportunities. We also are planning very seriously to launch a website dedicated to the diaspora community. So in addition to the investment portal that has been created and developed, there will be a dedicated site for the diaspora family where we can keep the engagement going, the information flowing, and work on Antigua and Barbuda kept on the front burner. In the annual independence celebrations in November of this year will be a major landmark, 40 years. And for that celebration, works are already very advanced, or plans, I should say, very advanced, for the hosting of the first diaspora conference, which will focus on investment, culture, relocation, youth engagement, and philanthropic opportunities. The event, as I said, is planned around the independence celebration and will last for all of 2022 as we keep the diaspora engagements going. I want us to appreciate here what is being contemplated, what's being attempted. That is an ongoing relationship, a renewal of our bonds to Antigua and Barbuda and her development. A mission which sets a new standard of inclusion, of engagement, not one where we only speak to each other at Independence Time or Carnival when you come, or which only highlights your remittances to family members, but one which keeps us engaged perennially. The success of this program depends not only on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Diaspora Desk, but to a large extent yet on the involvement and participation of the diaspora family. And so from the get-go, I want to invite diaspora family members in Canada to become not only conversant with, but certainly regular users of these platforms and these tools which are created for greater connectivity and engagement. In this pandemic period, I think it's only fair that I give you a quick snapshot of the health conditions or health situation in Antigua. And I can tell as of today, there were no new COVID cases. Well, my report is of yesterday, I'm sorry. The dashboard has not been issued for the day. So yesterday, there were no new cases. Active cases, 259. Recovered cases, 885. A total number of deaths, 29. And I must say that first 29 deaths is 29 deaths too many, since our major purpose or mission in this pandemic period is the lives of Antiguans and Barbudans. Livelihoods we will deal with at a later date, but the lives of Antiguans and Barbudans is a paramount concern to the government. And so to have lost 25 Antigua and Barbuda souls is of serious concern to us. The number of cases confirmed, 1,173. And I'm pleased to report that with the medical intervention of vaccinations, we have so far inoculated 27,032 persons. I'm also pleased to report that just today, from the COVAX initiative, some 24,000 AstraZeneca vaccines were received, and a new round of inoculation will begin next Tuesday, so that we are very much on course with respect to the vaccinated of people and the quest to achieve herd immunity, which is required for some restitution of normalcy in economic life and life in general on the island. There are those who will ask about the quarantine provisions and arrangements, and especially from first world countries where persons are coming to Antigua Barbuda already receiving either 2 or complete vaccination regimes. We maintain the testing requirement before arriving in Antigua Barbuda, and the medical jury is still out with respect to the quarantining of persons arriving, notwithstanding them having been vaccinated optimally. This is a matter that is under constant review, and until such time as the medical fraternity advises that persons journeying or arriving on island with full vaccination protocols in place are not quarantined, we will continue to do so because, again, from a scientific point of view, there is still a conversation happening globally on the transmission of the virus to persons who are fully vaccinated. And obviously, our population is not yet fully vaccinated. And so as part of our COVID management strategy, we continue to operate the quarantine facilities for persons coming in, notwithstanding the full vaccine regime being in place. Just today, the cabinet reviewed with the medical fraternity our curfew restrictions and have renewed the existing curfew arrangements from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. That again is in keeping with the fact that the numbers, though we've seen a reduction in the number of cases, there's still not yet satisfaction on the part of the medical fraternity that we are down to the numbers that we would like to see. And so the curfew arrangements kept in place. I also want to add here for utmost clarity and understanding of the the reason why the curfew has been kept in place. We are vigorously, methodically, and meticulously trying to shorten the chain of transmission before we go into the hurricane season. And so we are going to be ramping up as much as we can all of the protocols to ensure that we continue to see this downward spiral of daily cases. Because we'd appreciate that if we go into the hurricane season with a large number of COVID cases, and heaven forbid we are struck by a hurricane, having to open shelters, we can all understand what that could very well represent for us in the aftermath of the hurricane season. And so we want Antiguans and Barbadians in the diaspora, just as at home, to understand that there's a method that drives and guides this process with respect to the protocols that are enforced. We want diaspora Antiguans to continue to impress on their friends at home the importance of subscribing to and respecting the protocols set out by the health authorities. It is all about safeguarding lives. As I said, we can always deal with the livelihoods, i.e. the rebuilding of the economy, but we'll even need to have lives and persons here on island if we're going to rebuild the economy post-pandemic. There was much ado on the closure of beaches on the Easter. I don't think I have to go through it again because I think I just explained to you the rationale for the decision that we've taken so far in terms of insisting on the maintenance of certain protocols that have been established. The COVAX machinery, as I mentioned a while ago, would have delivered today 24,000 vaccines. And so we are grateful to the donor countries, Canada being one, to the COVAX initiative. And we look forward to the inoculating of additional Antiguans and Barbadians beginning next Tuesday. On the economic side, our economy, as we all know, is predicated on tourism. The pandemic has really all but wiped out our tourism industry. Our economy has shrunk by over 30% and continues to decline, or worsen, I should say. We all know that the cyclical nature of tourism is such that in this very month of April, historically, we will be seeing the tail end of tourism. Tourism that was not, means that we can anticipate tough summer months ahead with a protraction of the pandemic period and government's resources almost being wiped out before our very eyes as a result of the decline in tourism receipts. The decline in tourism receipts is a clear reflection of the decline of the traffic from our source markets. And to the Canadian diaspora family, I want to extend grave concern and condolences even to the number of persons in this jurisdiction that have been affected by the pandemic. In Antigua Barbuda, we have lost effectively 2 consecutive tourism seasons. And so it is a matter of our problems being compounded. And the further or the longer this protracts, it means the worse our condition will get. We have also seen the cancellation of 2 successive sailing week programs, 2020 and 2021. And we know that the sailing week program, which is going to 52nd or 53rd year this year, is a very important staple in the Antiguan economic calendar. And the benefits, again, like I said, can't be counted except for being lost. Many of our hotels remain shuttered. We were grateful to have had the recent cricket tour of Sri Lanka to the Caribbean, and our good sense of developing infrastructure for cricket allowed us to host all of the Sri Lanka tour to the Caribbean because we had what other countries do not have. We have 2 international cricket facilities. When the government made an investment in the Sticky Wicket, former Stanford property, there were many who second-guessed and made certain comments about the investment and the timing of it. But it turned out that that investment will save the day and served a very useful purpose in terms of economic activity from a sport we've all come to love and respect, vis-a-vis cricket. We were able to host the Sri Lanka tour. The benefits are accruing to our hotels. At least 2 hotels were completely sold out for the period. Before the Sri Lankan tour, we had the domestic Caribbean tour or season, which also was hosted here in Antigua. And so sports continue to play as a very important role in the economic development and claw back at a very difficult time for us. While our hotels remain shuttered, we also understand the implication of that. It means revenue loss to the government. It means a loss of jobs to a significant number of persons in that sector. And again, you can look at the subsector of tourism and understand and see exactly the extent to which the country's resources or reserves would have been affected. This, of course, the reduction in receipts on the part of government would have impacted adversely government's ability to deliver on certain key services and sectors. I'm pleased to report to Diaspora Canada, however, that notwithstanding the crippling effect of the pandemic on the economy, again, the economy will have shrunk by more than 30%, notwithstanding the loss of critical seats, notwithstanding the general shrinking of the economy, the government of Antigua and Barbuda, your government, your country, was able to maintain all public sector jobs. And until now, we give God thanks for the ability to do so, and to our people, an appreciation for understanding the difficulties with which the government is able to operate in this very difficult period of pandemic. The purpose we're here tonight is, as I said earlier, the investment opportunities in Antigua Barbuda. And so the whole question of economic recovery is foremost and uppermost in our minds. I'm pleased to report that the Economic Recovery Committee has submitted its report. Its report has been accepted. And so diversifying the economy in Antigua Barbuda is now part of what is being contemplated, being worked on. And a number of strategic interventions have been made to include light manufacturing, the whole question of food security, telecommunications, data processing, to name a few. The tourism product as we know it has had a new addition with the introduction of the Digital Nomad Program. This is a program we hope to launch in a very formal way, or relaunch as the case might be in Canada. And so CG Lane, we are looking towards a launch date, a rollout date sometime in the month of May, whereby we can attract Canadians to live and work in Antigua for up to 2 years. Those persons who can work remotely. And so, again, it is tourism, but not in traditional form. It is tourism responding to the realities of today's environment, where persons are shuttered in, hunkered on because of the pandemic. But our pristine conditions in Antigua and Barbuda allows for persons to work remotely from Antigua and Barbuda while not losing any of their business opportunities or their clients, as the case might be. I could not speak to the diaspora community and not speak to the issue of Barbuda, which sometimes presents somewhat of a conflict in terms of how we view the issues. And my touch in Barbuda tonight, or speaking to Barbuda and development, is simply to give a reassurance that the government of Antigua and Barbuda continues to work seriously on the rebuilding of Barbuda post-Hurricane Irma. A number of initiatives have rolled out in Barbuda, the most recent of which is the completion of 150 homes, which was done in February of this year. The governments of China and India would have contributed significantly to the post-hurricane rebuilding process in Barbuda. The construction of the PLH project, which is a major project by any standard, is intended to bring the Barbudan economy front and center in terms of the contribution to the overall national GDP and the output of our people, not to mention our offering in global tourism. The airport in Barbuda is intended to attract jets and larger aircrafts than we have historically been accustomed to. And so, in short, notwithstanding some of the nuances and the different comments we may hear about the work in Barbuda, I want to give diaspora members, family members in Canada, assurances and commitments that the government of Antigua and Barbuda, of the Twin Island city of Antigua and Barbuda, will not leave Barbuda's development behind, We will always have whatever contretemps or, issues that we may not always resolve readily. But I want to assure you that the interest is not only primarily, but singularly on the development of Barbuda and the Human Development Index on Barbuda. As we speak to major projects and policies and investments in Antigua Barbuda, members in Diaspora Family Canada would have heard of the expansion of WEOC, the ownership of WEOC in the first place, majority shareholding. A commitment was given back in 2018, if not 14, to divest some of the government shares and to make those shares available to public servants and other nationals. I want to invite very publicly, very openly, very readily, participation by Diaspora Family members in Canada with respect to the share offerings that have gone on sale at WEOC. You might have heard that there is a court challenge by HMB Holdings suggesting that the shares should not be sold to Antiguan and Barbudans. It's a matter that we think is a distraction, unnecessary distraction, but one which will not stop the objective of having Antiguan and Barbudans owning significant stake in a profitable enterprise to which WEOC. The global port expansion of the cruise facilities and the contract signed by government to global port places us in a very good position with respect to global cruise tourism, and the benefits of that we expect to see right upon the resumption of cruise services, which are already is happening in terms of the planning. There's talk of cruise tourism resetting for May of this year, May, June. I'm sure Mr. Telemark, when he speaks later, will address that matter. I will leave him to also address the matter of the expansion of the Deepwater Harbor and the lofty vision of having Antigua and Barbuda serve as a transshipment point for goods throughout the Caribbean. One of the things COVID has done for us, notwithstanding the challenges, it has also provided opportunities. And I want to show you that the administration, your government, has not lost a minute in terms of identifying and seizing the opportunities that COVID has provided. And so, if we take Liat as an example, there are those who thought that Liat was down for the count and should be rubbished. We see Liat for what it's worth to the Antigua Barbuda economy. And so, members of the diaspora community in Canada, I'm sure, would have followed our parliamentary debates, historic Saturday parliamentary session, which created a legislative framework, a la Chapter 4, the bankruptcy laws in America, to save Liat and to allow for the salvaging of the airline and its repositioning as a major player in the air transportation network of the Caribbean. Work is already ongoing with other long-haul carriers to position Liat as a feeder service out of Antigua for other Caribbean destinations. And so I think, again, like I said, the challenges are real, but likewise the opportunities. And we are repositioning Antigua and Barbuda with respect to those opportunities. We not only welcome the fourth landed campus of UE in Five Islands, Antigua, but we see in it great potential for the further development of human capital. We want to impress upon diaspora family members in Canada that as you look to tertiary training for for consideration to be given to sending our youngsters out to Antigua, to UE for their training as well. I know that you have any number of universities in Canada. I know you may have all kinds of arrangements in terms of scholarship grants and the like, but for those who are looking for university opportunities and for the cultural mix that UE offers to keep our diaspora community culturally stable and connected, please do not forget UE Five Islands as a consideration for your educational needs. Investment in Barbuda, those are also part of the investment portfolio or portal I mentioned earlier. And so we, again, want to encourage our Antigua and Barbuda diaspora family members in Canada to take up these opportunities to invest in Antigua and Barbuda. I know particular interest tonight will be Ambassador Joseph's presentation of the Willoughby project. I will not say anything further on that project. except that it's a very exciting opportunity, one that every Antiguan and Barbudan in Canada should consider making an investment in as you seek to own a piece of the rock, as you seek to make your personal and combined contributions to the resetting of the Antiguan economic clock. I really think that the project is an exciting one that really deserves your full attention and support. I want to close now because as Davin would have said earlier, Ambassador Joseph, it's a full night, lots of presentations to be followed by questions and answers. And so what I've not covered here in this presentation could always be dealt with through questions and answers. And any matter that I may not have adequately covered could be treated again in the same fashion. I want to close by once again extending an invitation to all, each and every one of you, to join the 40th anniversary of independence celebrations here at home. It's a time of a great family reunion. We are all hoping, fingers crossed, that the pandemic will not protract into that time of the year, and therefore allow us a chance to really come together to give God thanks for the blessings on our nation and people. I also want to encourage our diaspora family members to get vaccinated and to cooperate fully with the health and safety guidelines in Canada. In Antigua, the buzzword or the phrase is stay alive, get vaccinated. And I don't think it's anything less in Canada. And if it's less in Canada, I will keep it to Antiguans and Barbudans. Get vaccinated, stay alive. Again, God bless Antigua, Barbuda, its people, wherever we are on this earth. And for me, a pleasure speaking with our diaspora community tonight. And here's hoping that this investment forum will yield great success, great dividends with respect to the development of our fair land and our combined efforts in rebuilding the national economy post this COVID pandemic period. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister, for your presentation and for providing us with an update on the economic landscape in Antigua and Barbuda post-COVID, for the updates on the UE 5 islands, the Barbuda development projects, status of vaccinations in Antigua and Barbuda, LIAT, the Digital Nomad Program, the Diaspora Unit and website, among others. I'm sure there will be many questions at the question and answer period. As we move into our first presentation with Mr. Kevin Edwards, I would just a few housekeeping matters. All the questions will be at the end. So I'd ask you to hold them at that until that time. If you have questions, you could either use the raise your hand icon, or you can post them, and we have a member of staff at the consulate who will keep track of those questions and pose them at the appropriate time. At this juncture, I'd like to welcome Mr. Kevin Edwards, who's going to be speaking on the Willoughby Bay project. Mr. Edwards is the Development Planning and Design Coordinator in the Ministry of Housing, Lands, and Urban Renewal. Among his core responsibilities are to advise the Ministry of Housing, Lands, and Urban Renewal and the Cabinet of Antigua and Barbuda on all matters pertaining to the physical planning and design development of special projects. He's also in charge of site analysis and site inventory. He has responsibility for site designing and subdivision designing, and is in charge of the site analysis and site inventory of various government-owned projects. And that's just to name a few of his responsibilities. Mr. Edwards, we're happy to have you. The floor is yours, sir.
Good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
Peace and blessings. Consulate, I have to share with you my screen, okay?
Yes. You should be able to share. I've made you the host.
Thank you. Well, good evening again, folks. My name is Kevin Edwards. I work at the Ministry of Housing, Land, and Urban Renewal. I am a part of the subcommittee that is responsible for designing, developing, and planning the Willoughby Bay Development Project. Before I get into the meat of the presentation tonight, I would like to send out a heartfelt thank you to the Ambassador, Davin Joseph, to Council Lane, to Minister Green, and to the Prime Minister and the Economic Recovery Committee. Without their support and without their unwavering guidance throughout this process, which was started last year, just after the pandemic would have struck, without that support and that guidance, we would not be where we are tonight. So heartfelt thank you to them again. Also to the team, our team that has been working for the past 12 months now, trying to get this project up and running and to present something that is worthwhile for consideration and for investment. I want to thank each and every one of you personally, because it has been quite a road and a lot of work would have been done to this point. So thank you very much. I will now get into the meat of the presentation. Willoughby Bay is located on the eastern coast of the island of Antigua, part of the Antigua and Barbuda state. It is a bay. Thankfully, most of the lands within that general vicinity are crown lands owned by the crown. So this development project did not require much interaction with private landowners. There are private landowners, but thankfully, most of what we are presenting tonight would be developed on crown lands. Additionally, the Willoughby Bay general location, it's called Sanderson's, is part of the major agricultural belt of Antigua and Barbuda. There's a belt that runs from the east through to the center, all the way down to the south of the island, that produces most of what we use in terms of vegetables, fruits, agriculture itself, livestock. So this is it's a very busy part of the island in terms of the activities and the varying activities that you would find going on there. I have to share screen number 2, Council. Willoughby Bay Development Plan. The scope of our project looks at 1,589.97 acres. There is a special area, 89.79 acres. The Potworks Dam occupies 392.26 acres. And presently, there are 0 acres in terms of lands that are available for immediate agricultural use in Potworks Dam itself. But as part of this proposal and this development plan, the committee is looking at actually developing an agro-industrial park, which will occupy some 242.51 acres post the introduction of levees up at Potworks Dam. So essentially, folks, we will be creating or providing an additional 250 acres approximately to our farmers who are utilizing that portion of the island, that very active agricultural belt, to produce. So within the scope of this plan, and I just want to add as well that at the start of the project, there were some rumors going around about the government taking away lands from farmers, et cetera. That was never the intention. It was always the intention of the Economic Recovery Committee and our subcommittee to utilize and to make absolute use of the agricultural projects that are within that general belt of the island, the Sandersons area. So post this development plan, there will be an additional 242.51 acres. Okay, now we get into the meat of the presentation. As mentioned before, the overall project site spans an expanse of 1,500 and almost 90 acres of land. What we have done is to break that into 5 zones we call TOD zones, transit-oriented development. Now, a transit-oriented development, it is a development model that designers and planners use, and architects, in order to develop large tracts of land. Thankfully, we've been able to utilize that model for the proposed development at Willoughby Bay, and we will be focusing on the TOD number 4, because TOD number 4 it's directly within the mouth of the Willoughby Bay site, and it will provide the best ROI, return on investment, for persons who would like to invest and to be a part of the development for that site. Okay, the Willoughby Bay Development Project proposal. What we have done, we have broken it down. This is TOD number 4 now. We have broken it down into 3 phases. Phase 1, which is approximately 60.93 acres, and that's the phase that I will be focusing on tonight, because it presents the greatest ROI, and it is essentially the easiest to get done at this specific time, given the many considerations and limitations that we do face. Now, what we are presenting tonight is not a final development plan. It is a project proposal that will have to be buttressed by various proposals, studies, analysis, etc. But this is going to provide the framework upon which this development for the Willoughby Bay Development Project will unfold. So phase 1 is 60.93 acres, and that is where we will be focusing tonight. Phase 2 is 28.99 acres, and phase 3 is 136.77 acres. Now, this phase 1, 60.93 acres, it is going to provide us with a number of investment opportunities. And hopefully at the end of this presentation tonight, those would have been explained enough to you that you could actually find something within it all that you could invest in. Now, an investment doesn't have to be, for instance, constructing a hotel. An investment could simply be someone, a returnee, returning home from Canada, just simply purchasing a townhouse. That is an investment, and that is a major part of this overall proposal. Well, what we have done, we have designed the 60.93 acres of TOD number 4. This is our phase 1, and it is the greatest return on investment. This TOD includes hotels, retail centers, shopping centers, agro-processing, offices, shipyard, and townhomes, condos. I will take you through now each land use. Residential, which is A, accounts for 24.50 acres in total. That's this portion here. That is split across condos, 3-bedroom condos, townhouses, 3 bedrooms, townhouses, 3 bedrooms, and condos, 4 bedrooms. Shopping center and mall, B, occupies a total of 3.84 acres. That's this point here. Commercial core retail, which is this point here, occupies 3.10 acres. Commercial core office, this point here, occupies 0.96 of an acre. Another commercial core office occupies 0.64 of an acre, this point here, E. There is an overall planned open space, green space, occupying 5.15 acres. Agro industry, which is essentially an agro-processing plant, is going to occupy, 11.31 acres. Another commercial core retail occupies 0.81 of an acre. This point here. Resort, area number 12, 2.69 acres each, which is this here. And this is going to provide possibly the best ROI within the entire project site for TOD number 4, phase 1. Area I, another resort, occupies 2.50 acres. And I need to mention that this is going to require quite a bit of engineering work because of the longshore drift of the waves coming into the bay. These constructions that you're seeing that jut out into the bay are called groins. The intention is that they will reduce the incoming wave action and actually help to essentially build up the beaches behind. And they're very expensive to construct as well. But the intention is that utilizing these grounds, we will be able to actually construct these two major resort spaces, H&I. There's another commercial core retail, which is 0.62 of an acre. It's over here. A shipyard, which is right here next to the resort, that occupies 0.89 of an acre. There is an anchor restaurant occupying 0.53 of an acre. That's at this point. There is an park and ride terminus. That's at this point here. That occupies 0.48 of an acre. Reason being, in order to utilize these new developments, it will be necessary to provide transportation in and out of the site. And this is going to require a dedicated bus terminus with a park and ride. This is going to be a very busy and populated development within the country. So these services have to be provided in order to make the site itself usable. So this is a very important land use, institutional terminus and park and ride. And finally, roads. Of course, we wouldn't be able to utilize any of these developments at all without roads being on the ground. And it is very important that the roads and the infrastructure, etc., put in place to accommodate these developments. We have identified approximately 15,000 foot of new roads that would have to be essentially implemented. Now, all of this comes up to an overall bill of almost 450 million EC dollars. Now, obviously, the government of Antigua and Barbuda is not going to be spending $450 million to develop this site. The intention, of course, is for persons in the diaspora, investors, locals, to invest. And hopefully, you will see investment opportunities as we go a little further into the presentation that will guide how you actually put in some degree of investment and make a proper ROI. Now, this is a very important land use within the overall Willoughby Bay Development Project, TOD number 4. It is the residential zone. The intention being that we will be opening new lands for residential development to accommodate persons who would actually be working there and persons who would actually be buying into the development up there at Willoughby Bay. This zone occupies approximately 25 acres, and it's split between townhouses and condos. We decided to go the route of townhouses because it provides the best bang for the buck. We were able to bring in more persons and accommodate more persons as opposed to single family detached units. Now, bear in mind again, folks, this is only TOD number 4, phase 1 of 3. There are 2 other phases that we are in the process of detailing and designing. Within those other phases, all of these various land uses will change. But for now, phase 1, this is the residential zone. We have 3-bedroom townhouses listed as K on the map you're seeing in front of you, occupying 1440 square feet. That's 24 by 30 split over 2 floors. We have 4-bedroom condos occupying 4,800 square feet, 20 by 60, spread over 4 floors. We have 3-bedroom townhouses, 1,586 square feet, occupying 30 by 18 spread over 2 floors, and 15 by 17 spread over the same 2 floors. And finally, 4-bedroom condos occupying 3,675 square feet, 21 by 50 spread over 3.5 floors. And this is investment opportunity I, type 3 condo. Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
4,800 square feet spread over 4 floors. This is area 7 residential, what is listed as I on this sheet. There are 10 of these units. 1, 2, split into 5. 5, 10. They occupy a lot size of 1,200 square feet. The building itself occupies 4,800 square feet, split over 4 levels. Total construction costs, EC 8.4 million. That's for 5 units. A single unit is EC $1.68 million, or 10 units, EC $84 million. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Investment opportunity number 2, type 1 townhouse E. 3 bedrooms, split over a lot size of 1,820 square feet, occupying, 1,820 square feet. The building itself is 1,586 square feet. Construction costs, $384,300. That's the cost for one of these units for a family. Four of these units together, $2.204 million, or 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Total, $8,881,600. Investment opportunity now, type 2 townhouse K. The red roofs, occupying 1,440 square feet, 24 by 30. That is the overall dimensions, split over 2 floors. These are 3-bedroom townhouses. $81 in total. Lot size is 1,820 square feet. Construction cost for one unit is EC $504,000, or for 3 units, 1.512 million, or for all 81 units, $122,472,000. And finally, investment opportunities, type 4 condos. This is listed as L, the yellow roof buildings you see. 3,675 square feet. Overall dimensions, 21 by 50, split over 3.5 floors. Total of 16, lot size 1,200 square feet. Construction costs for one unit, 1.575 million EC. One block is EC 6,300,000, or all 16 units, pardon me, is $100,800,000. That constitutes our residential zone within phase 1 of the 3 phases for TOD number 4 within the Willoughby Bay Development Project, which provides us with the best return on investment. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Potworks Dam is a very important construction up there at the Willoughby Bay. It services the Sandersons, and it provides a major source of water supply for most of the farmers within that general vicinity. The proposal from the Economic Recovery Committee details the construction of levees to essentially reduce the amount of ground coverage that water coming into Potworks would essentially occupy. The reason we want to do that, folks, is because over the years, it has been very difficult for Potworks to maintain the water that it catches. Reason being, it is an open plain and the water is spread over a large expanse, so it evaporates quickly. If we could actually contain the same amount or even more water within a smaller space, we may be able to essentially retain more water whenever we go through these drought periods. As a matter of fact, we're going through a mini drought right at this moment. Okay, so the suggestion from the Economic Recovery Committee is essentially to levy Potworks Dam. It would essentially produce and free up 252 acres of land, because you would not require the almost 600 acres of land now that Potworks Dam presently occupies. Now, in addition to producing or essentially freeing up more lands, there are old local lines that actually go across Potworks Dam. Whenever there isn't any water per se in the dam, you could actually drive across on an old road that connects the main road through Potworks to the Bethesda main road. And the old local lines actually run within those roads. Now, the intention is to essentially redevelop a local line system within the Potworks Dam Sanderson area, and it would connect Betty's Hope, which is one of our major historical sites, which is in the process of being redeveloped and refurbished. It would connect Betty's Hope, Sanderson's agricultural area, Potworks Dam, historic tamarind tree, and the Bethesda Dam, which all, of course, would be essentially refurbished and redeveloped. This is a project that is going to require, once again, serious geotechnical engineering. The intention, though, is to free up the 252 acres for agricultural use and to essentially reprise that old local line that would be connecting Betty's Hope, the farmers within the Sanderson Green Belt, folks at the Tamarind Tree who would be going there for historical reasons, and also folks who would want to utilize the Bethesda Dam. Now, this is a very picturesque part of the island, and the intention from the Economic Recovery Committee going forward is to develop this site for not only the agricultural use, seeing that farmers will be actually able to utilize those local lines to transport goods from one side of Sanderson's across to the agricultural production site within the TOD number 4. It would provide a very useful means for us to accomplish that. So this is a very promising project that we are looking forward to pressing out more and to actually having our studies done to determine exactly what our options are going to be going forward with it. There are examples around the region of levied dams. One is a very famous Mona Dam in Jamaica, where the Mona Reservoir itself is levied and dammed up. That serves as a very picturesque location within Kingston, Jamaica. And it not only provides a track for persons to actually jog and walk around the dam itself and the reservoir, but it also provides 700 million gallons of water to the Kingston metropolitan region. So we are in good company with the thinking as to what we can be doing with the Potworks Dam project site.
Ms.
And the
Edwards, if I may interrupt you, I'm sorry. If perhaps 5 more minutes in your presentation so that we can then go on to the others. It is very interesting, and perhaps we can save some time for the question and answer as well.
Thank you, Council. I'll be wrapping up in less than 5 minutes. Okay, so this is another example of railway usage. The intention, of course, is to redevelop the local lines that have serviced the Potworks Dam area. This is being done in St. Kitts Nevis, and from all indications, it is a very lucrative venture. And we don't see that what we have here in Antigua Barbuda would be any different. So the intention going forward is full blast to the redevelopment of that local line. And that concludes my presentation for tonight. Members, folks, diasporans, thank you so much for listening, and whatever questions you have afterwards, hopefully I can answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Edwards. I am sure there are going to be lots of questions about the project and the investment opportunities. We are now going to move on to the second presentation, which is a presentation by Mr. Darwin Telemack, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Antigua Port Authority. His professional designation includes a Certified Port Executive, and he's currently working on his Professional Port Manager designation from the American Association of Port Authorities. His many years of training and experience afforded him the opportunity to engage in a number of regional and international agencies, including the World Bank, FAO, OECS, CARICOM, the OAS, and the PMAC. He is currently the chairman of the Port Committee of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, OECS, vice president of the Port Management Association of the Caribbean, PMAC, and vice president of the International Committee of Ports at the Organization of American States, OAS. Mr. Telmack, we look forward to your presentation. You have the floor, sir.
Good evening, Ms. Lane, and good evening, Minister Chet Green, Honorable Minister Chet Green, Honorable Ambassador Joseph, diasporans, and my fellow presenters and other guests. I would like to present the largest infrastructural development in the history of Antigua and Barbuda, which is the Antigua and Barbuda Port Authority development, which will take on 3 components. The Minister mentioned one. I'm going to go through this as quickly as possible. And as we go through the discussions in the answer and question section, I will also present some information on how you could contact the port and the port technicians if you're interested in the various aspects that we're going to share with you. So here goes our presentation. The Antigua Port Authority is the gateway to the economic and social well-being of the business community and all the citizens of Antigua and Barbuda. Designed within this critical national infrastructure are opportunities for investments, entrepreneurship, and partnership. This is the new port that we're building. Many of you who are in the diaspora would have known the old facility down at Rhode Island. Well, if you come back here in the next few months, you're going to see a beautiful state-of-the-art facility, and it is going to comprise of a whole new space. We built a full-scale port within the port operations that we have. Critical to this is the separation, as you can look at my cursor, of the 2 parts to the port. One is a commercial container terminal, and the other one, we call it a logistics park. And this is where we're going to be speaking of business opportunities, entrepreneurship, and engagement with regards to the port and private partners. I want to explain that delineation a little clearly so we can see that we have done one of 2 things. Many of you have come to the island and you would have traversed down to the port and come into the main port area someplace here. The warehouse would be here, and in our new port, the warehouse has been moved from the cargo facility and is now outside the main container terminal to the east of the port. If you remember where the Food City area is, this is where this is, close to the Bryson's dock. This is actually where the new warehouse is. So we're outside the main port area, and that separation is unique in terms of Caribbean ports, as it is the only port in the region that will now have a container terminal dedicated and a warehouse location for commercial activities. Let me just further show you that delineation. This is the old port that we have. This is the warehouse that many of you have come into and receive your barrels and your goods. And the new warehouse is over here. So you can actually see the new facility. If you remember, those of you who would go into the, I'm sorry, just give me 1 second. Those of you who would go into the old administrative building to meet the manager, that building was somewhere here. We've taken that building down, and the new administrative building is right next to the old Food City facility, closer to the roundabout, which is here. Our new facility will be here. And you are beginning to see that all of the engagement with the public has been brought outside of the port. And this is going to allow us to commercialize this whole area. We have done some reclamation on the northern side of the harbor. So the south side where the warehouse is the main harbor. The opposite side, at the back of the Rat Island Hill, into what you know as Dredge Bay, we reclaimed about 11 to 13 acres of land at present. We're going to do some more, and that land is going to be further developed in conjunction with the warehouse facility and all the developments that we've done around here. So there's an aerial shot that shows the development of the lands that we have reclaimed. By the way, this reclamation project here has cost us almost nothing, because we would have dredged the harbor to build a new berth that I will show you a little later on. And that material from the new berth, we pumped it across, and the waste material became very usable lands that we are now going to use to develop the project that I'm about to show you. This next slide actually shows you the separation. This first line, this big rectangular shaped area here, this is your container terminal. This is where all of the cargo will come in. This is where we're going to do all of the transshipment to other islands and all of the connections to all the other markets. And then on this side, in this smaller one, we are going to be doing the domestic arrangements. All of the commercial activities that we're going to discuss with you will be handled here. Just to give you some ideas as to what we have developed at the port. First of all, we have built a brand new warehouse facility. So the old warehouse is going to be torn down, and this is the new warehouse facility. It is much, much larger than the old facility. This facility is going to provide some opportunities for private businesses and individuals to conduct warehousing, transshipment, and in the case of the new home porting opportunities that are arriving in Antigua over the next cruise ship season, this warehouse can provide investors with opportunities to build in cold storage and other ship chandling support services inside of these facilities that we are prepared right now to discuss leasing directly to businesses or individuals so that you can bring your cargo into the port, it goes into here, and then you can start supplying the ships after you've made arrangement with them to do it. Home porting is going to require additional supplies. It's going to be a large amount of supplies. The ships are going to be dependent on ship chandlery and or businesses with that cargo already on the island to supply them. And the opportunity now exists since we would have the facility at the port to be able to bring it, it goes into that facility and then it's delivered straight to the ship from the port. So you're not coming from very far away. The beautiful thing about that is all those goods will be brought in bond, so you won't pay any taxes on them because they're being exported straight back out to the ship. So they would be bonded cargo going to the ship. So they're export cargo, and you would have a bonded facility already here. So the opportunity is quite exciting for an engaging, an interesting partnership. We built a cross-docking facility, something that is new. If you're arriving into Antigua and you packed your beautiful car inside a container, right now we are having difficulties with individuals who want to take the car out because customs doesn't want them to leave the port with the car. We have this facility that will allow you to bring the container over here on the south side. The forklift comes up, we open the door of the container, the car drives out, goes into customs control, and then you take your container home where you can unstuff your goods at your private property. If you don't want to do that, you continue loading from the container directly into another truck if your yard is too small and you have the environment where customs can inspect everything nicely on the sheltered area. Right now, this is done in the dust. This is done in a very dusty, sometimes muddy area. That enhances this, and we get to do that right here. Similarly, this facility would allow for smooth transition from the south side out of the containers into the trucks, because on these platforms, we're gonna have automated rollers, automated conveyor belts, so that the lifting of from one side to the next will be reduced as the conveyors will go all the way into the trucks and contract back into the container. So you go back and forth. As the load increases in the truck, it decreases in the container and the conveyor goes into the container until that loading comes out. So we're having a state-of-the-art facility here. This is the only one in the region. This could also facilitate lots of transshipment going down island, and we'll get to that a little later. So this is our warehouse, our opportunities for warehousing, and a cross-dock facility. And this here also is an opportunity for partnerships as well. This here just shows you the interior of the section of the warehouse that we are willing to lease out right now. This facility, this is separated by a firewall, completely separated from the area that we're going to be storing all the barrels and boxes that are going to various businesses and customers. So this entire area, which is about 12,000 square feet, would be available for someone who wants to come in. We could split it down the middle right here and have two options for two individuals. We could have two options here and have it split it down this way and have four options in here. We are prepared to look at various opportunities. We have engineers and designers who are on staff at the port who can facilitate this. And so this facility can be organized to where this entire section could be a fully refrigerated section where you bring in all the cold cuts, meats, and everything for the ships. And when the ships are ready, you just go down the road and do them. We did that a lot in markets that I've been in St. Martin and St. Thomas. Since home porting is coming to Antigua, the opportunity lies for someone who wants to invest with us to do so. So in the warehouse, you can storage, distribution, shipping. You can have an office in one of these buildings as well. It's 2 buildings, and on top of them have spaces for that as well. And you can also do transshipments. So for instance, we could bring cargo going to Montserrat here in Antigua, strip them, put them on the ferry to Montserrat very easily. We can facilitate a lot in here. We can discuss that with you. This is another view of the warehouse. So you can see it's a beautiful state of the art. It is the best warehouse in the region. We're very excited about it and we want to offer it. This is a top view of that facility as well. Now, in addition to this warehouse, this huge 85,000 plus square foot warehouse, we are looking at additional lands here, which right now the contractors are using to build out all of the, they're using to, as the drop down yard, as where this is where they mix the concrete. But this area is about 4.5, almost 5 acres of lands. When they're done, we're gonna level this area out, and we can also put in independent warehouse facilities to create our logistics park. So this entire area here could become a facility where if you are in Toronto and you want to send in all of the goods that are supplied from Canada into Antigua, you can set up your own warehouse here. And instead of having the customers in Antigua wait for 2-3 weeks to get the goods, you can continuously fill up your warehouse with the Canadian goods in bond, and then you can simply deliver it when it's ready to go into Antigua. If, however, there is someone in St. Kitts who wants the same type of goods, you are at the port already, it's already in bond, so you don't pay taxes. We are also facilitating what we call the free movement of goods within the OECS, and therefore we are able to move goods from Antigua, and the gentleman who is responsible for that as well is on the call. That is the Minister of Trade, Minister EP Chet Green. And so he's also very familiar with the fact that we are initiating a groundbreaking opportunity for businesses to expand into the OECS. So not only do we now have the psychological or methodological connection, we now have a facility that can create a physical arrangement that could allow you to have the goods here. So for instance, out of Toronto, we get lots of lentil beans, we get lots of fresh, well, not fresh, but salted meat. We get pickled meat. We get lots of things that we have to import all the time in some small quantities and some large quantities. We can now have a consortium of individuals in Toronto, pack containers, send it in here in bond, and supply from here. In logistics, what wins now is what we call the last mile. If it's here and it's available and it's priced properly, the only option to get it from to deliver it now is the vessels that would be available to deliver. And right now in Antigua, we have ships that are going to Tortola, to St. Kitts, to Dominica, to Anguilla, to Montserrat, to Nevis, and Nevis is only 4 hours away. So if Four Seasons needs a few buckets of pickled meat, you could even get a small fishing boat and take it over to them. Creativity exists for us, and we are willing to help design those creative options to ensure that you could have your own facility here, a warehouse. Maybe it won't be as big as this one, but it'll be your own warehouse, bonded in the port yard, and that's available. So therein lies an opportunity for us. So in this commercial zone, we are looking at building out private storage, drop shipping, distribution centers, supply chain systems, transport options. This is a very unique opportunity for someone who may be interested in having a vessel that does, say, delivery to Montserrat, to Nevis, to St. Kitts, and even St. Martin. We are not, that does exist, and we would like to explore those options with individuals. We are looking at commercial developments in terms of warehouse storage. This would also facilitate the home port concept that I shared with you. We don't like the word of free trade zones. It's not something we're going to change. We're calling it a logistics park. Globally, that is not acceptable. So we're going to call it a logistics park. We're going to have sea-based supply chain systems. and distribution centers available here, production opportunities. It could be first and second level production, or it could just be fulfillment services where you're putting already manufactured pieces together. Since you are at the port, it's easy to put it on a ship to get it to someplace else. There could be refining opportunities, wholesale, light manufacturing. All of these are available in this commercial space at the new port that we're building. Additionally, we are building one new administrative building, which would, many of you are gonna enjoy this, because if you are at the port right now and you wanted to see Mr. Badu, the Comptroller of Customs, you have to walk down or drive back out the road, go all the way uptown to get to Customs. That changes. If you look at the warehouse, this is where the warehouse is. You can now walk across to the new admin building, and on this second floor here, all the officers of Customs will be based here. Downstairs here, you would have all the operational people involved in Customs, and over on this side of the warehouse, you would pay Customs here. So if you remember again, in the port, you would go up to the warehouse, pay, you would come back to the tariff and pay. Tariff is now in here. The warrant area is in here. So you have a one-stop shop in the warehouse. And should anything go wrong, you can just walk across the street to Mr. Badu's office, which will be right here. And if you need the port manager, he will be up here as well. He or she will be up here as well. So that means that the efficiencies of the new port lends for a more efficient business, and we could also say personal experience at the port. And we hope that these sort of efficiencies can be attractive enough as individuals look for efficiencies and reduction in cost as it relates to developing new business concept. In addition to improving the logistics and the efficiencies of the port, this building brings in almost 500 people to the new port area, because Customs is coming and all of the port staff will be in this building as well. Across the street in the warehouse, you'll have another maybe 200 people, plus the visitors. That creates a massive economic environment. The reason that we place the warehouse outside of the container yard is to commercialize this whole area. And I will show you what we've done in addition to the new port, just to demonstrate that we want to capture the traffic and take advantage of it. So here's what we've done. So I've shown you some of the developments that we've done in terms of the new port and all of the new facilities that we want to build out. And we are looking at integrating that port now into another level. So here's what we're saying. In this integration, we are promoting inclusive and sustainable entrepreneurial opportunities for all. At the new port, we're going to have one of the most versatile and competitive ports in the entire Caribbean. And here's why. Look at this picture, and I want you to dream. We have, for the only port in the Caribbean, Mr. Chet Green, Minister Green, this is a fact. This is the only port in the Caribbean where you're going to be able to have 2 full-size container ships that can work with a crane, or Lolo ships, 1 full-size Ro-Ro ships, and 5 full-size cruise vessels. I want you to just take that in again. The development that we are doing at the port will make this port the most competitive, most efficient port in the Caribbean. Here's why. If you're in Barbados and there's a cruise ship at the cargo port, all your cargo has to wait outside. In Antigua, nothing waits. The cruise ships don't wait, the cargo ships don't wait. As a matter of fact, real quick, we now have what is called a maritime single window, which allows for all these ships to be cleared 3 miles out. Why is that important? When cruise ships arrive, they have to wait for the boarding party to go on this one, clear it, that takes 45 minutes, come up, go on this one and clear it, 45 more minutes, walk across the Navy Street, clear this one. So before they're all done, we've lost 3 hours of shopping time. Well, with the new single window, the cargo ships are cleared outside, they come in and the work begins. These cruise ships will simply dock up and your taxis, your tour operators can start receiving people right away. But here's even better news. We are now gonna have 4 ships alongside on Heritage and Nevis, and a 5th one, the largest cruise ship in the world, which will have 6,000 passengers. we will have 4,000 here, another 3, another 3,500, and maybe 3 here. 20,000 people in one day will now be sitting in Antigua on all of these ships. They will be coming into Heritage Key, and the integration we're speaking about has now allowed us to decide that we want to expand part of this commercial section down here at the Deepwater Harbor to build out on the Dredge Bay side. I want you to pay attention to this, to my cursor here. This is where Food City was. Right here is where Food City was. So we're going to build out this area with the land that we reclaimed. And guess what we're going to put in there? Opportunities for investment. Globally, port development leads to development of the surrounding areas. And I mentioned this to you, there's going to be 200 port employee, customs, other stakeholders at the port, plus the surrounding area, there's about 4,000 people who live there. So what we're going to do inside of Dredge Bay, and I'm sure many of you would remember Dredge Bay, is this new development, which is going to be attractive to a lot of cruise traffic. Why? And we'll show you what we're going to do here. This proposed commercial area is going to be recreational and is going to be commercial. This is what it's going to look like. And I'm going to break it down for you. So keep in mind, this is the admin building. This is the warehouse. This is our commercial area. All of this is going to be included in it. And here's what it's going to entail. First, we're going to have a CARICOM cargo ramp. So for transshipment to other OECS countries initially, we are not going on the other side. We're doing all of that on one side. Why? Because we want to have the free movement of goods coming in and going to OECS country with very little interruptions. We're going to have pleasure craft, we're going to have domestic ferry terminals, and we're going to have the fishermen on that side as well. And it's going to look like this. So we're going to also, in that space, we're going to have a mini mart, maybe a fish market, recreational zone areas, retail shops, food courts, restaurant, Antigua distilleries. We are organizing with the distillery, which is the largest business on Antigua, largest ongoing business on Antigua at present, to ensure that they have a merchandising store inside that facility. And we're going to be organizing a tour of that facility where folks will go taste the product, see how it's made. That's going to bring lots of tourists into that area. In addition to them, we're going to have the Wadadley Cat vessels will be over there, the Excellence, all the vessels that move cruise passengers to circumnavigate and go to various islands around the island. We'll start from there. We're going to have all the ferries from Guadeloupe, Martinique, Montserrat, Barbuda coming on that side. Fishermen, shipping agencies, brokerage house. We're going to have a bowling alley and a pool club. We're going to have a nightclub, a pharmacy, a gym, and a rooftop restaurant. We're going to show you what that looks like. It starts like this. This is the first building that I want to show you. It highlights most of the facilities that I mentioned. On the lower floor, there'll be a mini mart, a supermarket type arrangement, maybe a fish market. There will be a pharmacy, maybe a gymnasium on the top. On the roof here, overlooking beautiful Paradise Cove, Dredge Bay area, will be one restaurant, and that's available for investment. There'll be opportunities for here, and there'll be opportunities on that side. So the entire roof can be set up to be a restaurant that's available for individuals who are interested in that. So this would be the flagship building, which will be built on the corner, closer to the Dredge Bay playing field area. This is reclaimed land. Next to that, we are designing, well, lower down from that, we're designing a fisherman's area for the fishermen they won't be doing most of their activity here. They will take their fish over to the point walk, but they will be berthing here because we can't keep them over in the main harbor. So we brought all the fisher folks here, a building for them. Won't be as elaborate as this, but there'll be a building for them to do all of their stores, have their place to keep all of their items, and that building will facilitate the cruise traffic. I'm sorry, the fishermen traffic. This is the front of where the fishermen will be. And this is what the fishermen dock is gonna look like. Quite nice. The building in the back here will be changed. We're not gonna be so elaborate with it. We've been so instructed by the Prime Minister to taper that down. We're gonna do that. But this is gonna be where the fishermen will be, a nice, beautiful space. We're going to have some areas where we're gonna put in some shops. If you remember Heritage Key, One of the advantages of Heritage Key is that there is a duty-free environment there. This shopping area would also be a duty-free zone where you can have a duty-free store selling to the tourists that are coming in. Why would the tourists come here? Because they're going to the rum factory. They're going on the tours with the Excellence. They're going on tours with the Wadadley Cats. And since Heritage Key is so small, 20,000 people can't fit there. As a matter of fact, one of the challenges of Heritage Key is that there are right now just about 200-300 seats. That's not enough. So we think with all of the requirements for social distancing, those 20,000, 10,000 people are going to want to find another place. Here is a new opportunity for individuals that wants to invest once again in that commercial space. So we're also going to have some offices for lawyers, doctors, individuals who wants to be underwater. We're going to build 3 buildings that would facilitate shipping agents, brokers, insurance companies. We think one of the things we want to put in here is transport board. So if your car comes into the port, you don't need to go all the way over there. You can get everything done. Next to them will be state insurance. All of that activity can be done there, and you don't have to go uptown to get that done. So we're building out the facility. Another component we're going to have in that development is an area that we're going to have a food court. So when with all these people coming through here, all the neighborhood and the 500 port workers and customs officers, they're going to eat, they need to eat. So there'll be restaurants and food stalls that will be built in this food court area with a bandstand that we believe that the beautiful voices of the steel band that is right next to the port here, playing on evenings, lightening up the area, making this giving this the recreational feel that will make this an exciting place both night and day, which would energize St. John's and create a whole new space that would also facilitate the traffic from the hotels. Sometimes they have no place to go. This will create, I think, a dynamic space for them with this live band, this bandstand that is built in here. This is what the food court's gonna look like. Individuals will come to various food courts and they can sit under these covered area and have a snack. You can exercise here later in the afternoon and move around in a beautifully, nicely crafted area. This here is where the folks who are going out on Wadadley Cats and the likes will be sitting on the backside to go out onto the ships. They will be boarding from inside these buildings. There'll be 2 buildings like this one, and they will come in from the cruise. They may be driven over. Some may walk across because we're not very far from the cruise facility, and then they will board the vessels and leave. When they come back, they do the tour of the rum factory, sit around, they can buy the various things, and then get back on board. Here, we're looking at the opposite side of it. There'll be a nice boardwalk here. This is the same facility. This is just a view where folks will be going into that same facility where they can board the vessels on this dock. So you'd have Excellence, Wadadley Cats here. They would board here and go in, and then they would have this area where some of the agencies responsible for them would be facilitating them as well. So lots of people are going to be coming in here. This is what an aerial shot of it. So you have your shops, your food court, and the place where your folks are going to be boarding these catamarans that are taking them out right here. So a very condensed, high populated area with activity and other business opportunities are sitting here for you. This is just another view of that area. And here is a ferry terminal. I mentioned the ferries from Guadeloupe, Barbuda, Montserrat, and other markets. This would be a ferry terminal that we would build. It would be a domestic terminal where Barbudans will come in and go straight out. If you're coming from a foreign, you'll go to Immigration and Customs. And on the top, we want to build out some restaurants so that when you're waiting for your ferry, you can have something. So in that space up top, there'll be additional investment opportunities for individuals who want to be part of that. This is what it looks like. And we are winding down. This is the building. Once again, just showing you the rooftop restaurant and all of the things that will be available in it. So folks, essentially what we are doing at the port, just going back to this screen, you're looking at an area where, I just want to go back to this area here, 1 second. 1 minute, yeah. You're looking at an area where you're gonna have one of the most efficient container terminal. That will happen with the main port. But in this square, going back to Dredge Bay, we have significant opportunities that we want to make available to individuals who wants to invest in this space. Thank you very much. I'll await your questions when the time comes.
Thank you, Mr. Telemac, for your very informative presentation on the investment opportunities which are available in the new port development. I think your images were gorgeous, and it helped. I think it transported us right there at the development, and I think it made it very easy for us to understand what opportunities are available. So thank you very much. Our next presentation, excuse me, is from Mr. Garfield Joseph, who is a highly respected business management practitioner with international experience, having worked with a Fortune 500 company from 2004 to 2019. He currently heads the Entrepreneurial Development Program, EDP. The EDP is an initiative of the government of Antigua and Barbuda designed to provide low-cost funding, technical advice, and support to new and existing businesses. Having spent his formative years in the hotel industry, Mr. Joseph was Antigua and Barbuda's first Young Hotelier of the Year and a Caribbean Tourism Organization Michael Manley Scholar. His passion is for teaching and learning. This is evidenced as he also lectures at the University of the West Indies Five Islands campus, teaching business strategy and policy to final year graduating.
Yes, all of them, bro.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chair. All protocols observed. So I'm going to spend just a few minutes to walk you through the entrepreneurial opportunities in Antigua and Barbuda. And the key message here is that now is the time to own your own business, to become your own boss. So we're saying that now is the time to invest in Antigua and Barbuda for three main reasons. One, the economy of Antigua and Barbuda, as is the rest of the world, is impacted by COVID, but we are expecting to have a rebound as soon as that situation is mitigated as a result of the vaccine programs that are being rolled out. Secondly, we believe that we have a wide range of unique opportunities in Antigua and Barbuda, supported by incentives offered by this administration. And thirdly, we believe that we have created an enabling investment climate, and with the strong support of the government, we believe that now is the right time to invest in Antigua and Barbuda. What are these unique opportunities, you may ask? We have tourism and tourism-related activities. We have agriculture, the housing market, either for personal use or for rental property purposes. We have services where value-added services can be explored, not just the regular services, but even services that can be exported from Canada to the Caribbean, more particularly Antigua and Barbuda, where we can add value and then re-export those services back to Canada. Then we're talking about as well light manufacturing, joint ventures. The blue economy, I think, is a really big idea for us here in Antigua and Barbuda. We are surrounded by miles and miles of water. And if we are able to tap into that resource to find new ways of generating economic activity at multiple levels, I think we should be in a good place. Also, information technology. We are a small, one connected world. We are able to work remotely. We are able to tap into the knowledge and expertise that we have in the diaspora. And this gives us another opportunity for us to invest in Antigua and Barbuda at this time. We also believe that there's some big ideas. We're talking about unique opportunities, but at the same time, we believe that there's some big ideas. I'll just point these out to you very quickly. The West Indies Oil Company has gone public. You may have heard that on the news, So we now have the opportunity to invest in a local company that captures a very dominant position in that particular industry. It's well managed, it's growing, and we have an opportunity for the first time to be able to invest in a local company that I'm sure will pay dividends in the years to come. We also have a number of banks and credit unions that you can actually invest in. And I'm sure that some of you may be thinking of your retirement and what you will do in the years to come. I want to invite you to think about diversifying the portfolio. You can leave some monies in the Canadian bank, in the Canadian economy, but you can also think of buying shares, obtaining shares in local banks, the credit unions, Antigua Commercial Bank, and indeed ECAB. I'm sure that they will be moving in that direction at the same time. Aquaculture also tied to the blue economy. And Canada has a well-developed industry in terms of fishing and the marine services. And if you can think about that kind of opportunity, could you export either individually or with joint ventures from Canada to Antigua? I think that would be a really good opportunity as well. Real estate, you can never go wrong investing in the real estate market as a result of Antigua and Barbuda being a highly attractive tourism destination. The real estate market, either personal or commercial, I believe is still the way to go. Offshoring of services, there are many things that you do in Canada. Canada is a first world nation, but at times people want to work in a warm environment, people want to work in a safe environment. And if you're able to offshore some of those services, again, with the use of the information technology, persons can work remotely, persons can work maybe 6 months in Canada, maybe 3 months in Antigua in the winter season, so you can enjoy the best of both worlds. So these are some of the big ideas that we certainly want to present to you, in addition to the opportunities that have been presented before by Mr. Telemack and Mr. Edwards as well. Now you're thinking, okay, there are all these great opportunities. What about access to capital? How do we invest? Well, I want to give you some propositions. One, I'm delighted to say that in 2019, the government of Antigua and Barbuda initiated the initiative which is called the Entrepreneur Development Program. Essentially, it's a program designed to help Antiguans and Barbudans to invest either in an existing business or in a new business. And here's the good news. Not only do we provide the financing, we also provide the technical assistance and the support that you need to be able to make that business successful. So you have some access to capital here in Antigua and Barbuda. I wouldn't say that we have infinite resources, but certainly no one is turned away. Anyone with a good idea, we are willing to explore that idea. And we also have synergies that we have developed with the Caribbean Union Bank, and the government will be certainly willing to underwrite or to support any initiative that is a highly successful idea. We can make it work. So we don't want access to capital to be a deterrent for your wanting to invest in Antigua and Barbuda. Secondly, we have the financial institutions. I'm sure you must have heard most recently that the Antigua Commercial Bank continues to grow as a result of some acquisition of the Royal Bank here in Canada. We have ECAB. Interestingly, the Royal Bank, a Bank of Nova Scotia, one of your own traditional banks, that one will certainly be merged into a new entity operated by ECAB. And so there are opportunities for Antiguans and Barbudans, not just locally, but in the diaspora, to be able to invest. And you have access not only to international sources, but you now have access to local sources, because certainly the equity has improved significantly. And I'm sure that they'll be sensitive to the ideas and the needs of this nation better than perhaps an international organization might in times past. So here's another opportunity for you to access the capital that you need. Certainly joint ventures. And I have to say that this is a deep desire that I have to see more Antiguans coming together to pool their resources to be able to make big things happen. And 100,000 here, 100,000 there, from 500 persons in Canada will certainly go a long way. So the invitation is sent out to you to see whether or not you're able, as a group of Antiguans and Barbudans, that you can come up with a big idea and spread the risk across a number of persons and see whether or not there's something that we can do together, either singly or as a joint venture. Then you certainly have family resources. Family resources, retirement funds. I don't know what they call it in Canada. I know that in the United States, they call it the 401k. So the 401k is what you try to invest for the future. And you can, take a certain amount out of that 401k, and you can invest in one of these highly successful ideas that we have presented, so that you will be able to have a nest egg to take you to sustain your needs even after working in the cold and then returning back into the great summer and summer season in the Caribbean. So finally, my proposition today is really about asking you, inviting you to think about investing in Antigua and Barbuda. And the reason why is that I'm seeing for the first time a number of unique opportunities such as we have not seen before. And I must say that the Prime Minister has a passion to see Antiguans and Barbudans having a greater stake in the, not just participating in, but managing and becoming owners of the economy. And so what we have seen at Willoughby Bay, what we have seen in terms of incentives, what we have seen in relation to what is happening at the port, what we have seen in relation to getting the entrepreneurial development program up and running. And I will say to you, since the program started a year ago, we have issued to mainly small and medium-sized enterprises almost $3 million already. And I am also delighted to say, since that time, even though we have been impacted by COVID, we have trained over 400 persons in how to start their own business, how to do basic record keeping and the like. So again, the desire here is not just to point you to opportunities, but to help you to develop the capabilities by way of technical assistance and knowledge, and by way of financing, so you can grab hold of these opportunities. Finally, I want to say to you, I believe that you ought to be intentional about taking hold of the opportunities that are available that may not be around for a very long time, so who knows? And so what is the call to action? The call to action for me is really three things. One, explore the investment opportunities that are available to you today. Not only what we have spoken about and presented, but there are lots of other opportunities in Antigua and Barbuda that I think could be of interest to you. And so from all of these alternatives, you make your selection, decide what you think is a safe bet, decide what you think you have some expertise and know-how about, decide which one you're passionate about, and certainly reach out to us so that we can assist you not only to develop the concept, the idea, but to really help you to execute your plan so that you can become your own boss and that you can invest in Antigua and Barbuda, not only for yourself, but for the generations to come. So I just want to thank you so very much for listening. I know you're going to have questions, and we will take these questions at the end. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I hand back over to you.
Thank you so much for your presentation, for the call to action. I am sure that we're going to have lots of questions. You've raised some interesting points. You've pointed us in the direction of what resources are available. So I'm sure we're going to have questions at the end of these presentations. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are now moving on to the regulatory requirements. You've heard what the investment opportunities are, and so now we go to the next step on the regulatory requirements. And we have up next to present is Mr. Frederick Southwell, the Chief Town and Country Planner. Mr. Southwell has been the Chief Town and Country Planner at the Development Control Authority, DCA, for the past 10 years. He is an accomplished professional in his field, having worked as a planning officer at the DCA with a team of the United Nations and local planners on the draft 2001 National Physical Development Plan for Antigua and Barbuda. He also functioned as a coordinator on the local steering committee to produce 3 UN Habitat participatory slum upgrading programs, the urban profile reports on All Saints, St. John City, and Antigua and Barbuda. He's also participated in the production of the Sustainable Island Resource Management Zoning Plan for Antigua and Barbuda, which was ratified in 2012. Mr. Southwell, we look forward to your presentation. You have the floor, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, okay, the presentation would be the Development Control Authority. What is the purpose of the DCA? What governs the DCA? When to start your development application process? What do you look for in outside of the DCA in terms of your development approval process, and then conclusion? The Development Control Authority has 2 main mandates, and these are dictated by the Physical Planning Act of 2003. The first mandate is physical development control, which involves the issuing of construction development permits and the DCA monitoring development construction sites. The second mandate is physical development planning, which involves land use planning and management, both at the national level and the local development levels. The Development Control Authority is governed not only by the Physical Planning Act of 2003, but by the Antigua and Barbuda OECS Building Code, which sets the standard for building construction. The Antigua and Barbuda Building Guidelines, which has the details on how structures are to be built. The Sustainable Island Resource Management Zoning Plan, which was ratified in 2012. And this essentially is a National Physical Development Plan or National Land Use Plan. When you wish to invest and engage in construction activities, the law requires that you must submit a plan application to the Development Control Authority for approval first. And there are several types of plan applications. You could have Plan A, which is the erection of a new building. Plan B, major alterations or extensions of an existing building. Plan C, which involves relocation or demolition of an existing structure. Plan D, which is approval for a subdivision development. Plan E, if you want to just do simple installation of a water closet, septic or soakaway system, or a sewage system. Type F, which is change of use of a building or development. A G plan, which is approval in principle or outline approval, where if you have a very large development, and you want to know upfront whether or not the development concept would meet approval standards, you can submit the concept drawings first. And once you get approval in principle, then you have to go ahead to do your detailed construction drawings, which can run into many thousands of dollars. So you want to get approval in principle first. Type F, which is permission for display of advertisements, and type I, which is land reclamation application. The plan application documents, all documents must be submitted to Development Control Authority in triplicate. You must produce a land register certificate to show proof of land ownership. And if you are using somebody else's land, you must have notarized written consent from the landowner. Or if you're leasing land from the government, you must have a valid lease or valid rental documents. Survey diagram of the land parcels so that we have the official dimensions to ensure that the development that is designed can fit onto the land. And a location plan so that anybody can find where the development is to take place. Other documents required a site plan, which show how the development would be laid out on the development site, floor plan, elevations, roof plan, foundation plan, plumbing plan, electrical plan, cross section, construction details, fire, safety, and exit. These are things that your architect would produce based on their training. Once the plans come into the Development Control Authority, we may send them to other regulatory agencies for review and for recommendations, such as Department of Environment, who would review the plan for environmental impacts, National Parks Authority, if the plan falls within one of the several national parks areas, which they have legal authority over. Central Board of Health, who would vet the plan for septic, sewage systems, and water runoff. Fisheries Division, if the development falls within coastal and marine areas. The Antigua Public Utilities would give permission for utilities to be connected to the development, and also in some instances for large developments, they would assess the electricity and water usage in the development. Antigua Barbuda, the Airport Authority, if the development falls within the aerodrome area. As you know, the Airport Authority must meet very strict regulatory regional and international standards, and so the development within those zones must conform to these. Department of Marine Services, which deal with mapping and charts of all marine areas, and these charts are sent off to England and then to the rest of the world. So any development that is going to change the physical shape of the marine area must be sent to the Marine Services for them to take note of. Antigua Port Authority, which must give permission for structures to be built in the sea, which it would include not only building of structures, but dredging of the seabed and laying of cables and so on. St. John's Development Corporation, which has municipal control over the city area, and the Barbuda Council, which has a local government set up in Barbuda. And so when large projects come to the DC for vetting and approval, we must ensure that we have written consent also from the Barbuda Council as well as the Cabinet of Antigua and Barbuda. Types of plans for which an environmental impact assessment is required. Now, in the third schedule of the Physical Planning Act, it gives a list of the types of developments that make an EIA mandatory for. And these are here listed. You can Google Antigua Barbuda Physical Planning Act and look in the third schedule and you will get this list. And if you have plans for investment, you can see if your development would involve one of these types of applications, which would attract an EIA. How the EIA process is done: once you submit your plan application to Development Control Authority, we see that it requires an EIA, we would send a copy off to the Department of Environment and the Fisheries Division, if it's in marine area. They would do a review report and generate terms of reference. These terms of reference would be used by the developer to guide how the EIA is to be done. Once the EIA is completed, it's sent back to the Development Control Authority, and we review it and send it to the Department of Environment for review. We hold public consultations with stakeholders and the general public, so the public can weigh in on any concerns they may have with the development before it's done. The EIA usually would propose mitigation measures, because every development would have some type of impact on the environment, on the society. And so they would need mitigation measures put in place to lessen the negative effects of the development and maximize the positive effects. And once the EIA is approved, the DCA would, and you would have at that point permission to produce your detailed construction drawings. Those are submitted to the DCA. We review them under the building code and building guideline standards. Once they pass, we approve the plans, and then you are free to start construction with supervision from the DC, supervision and oversight from the DCA and the other regulatory bodies. I would say to large development projects, the plans are sent to the fire department for fire safety assessment and for recommendations from the fire department. And the culture of the DCA and the other agencies is to try and assist the developers as much as possible with their development. Any questions they may have, we are happy to sit with the developer at any stage of the development. I must also mention too that the building code gives the developer the option to have approval in parts or stages. Sometimes construction drawings take quite a long time to produce. And so once you get approval for the overall concept, then you can have your detailed construction drawings approved for in stages, say like the foundation first. While you start building the foundation, then you can work on your plans for the walls. Once those are finished and approved, and that construction starts, you can begin your plans for the roof and other systems, so that you can have several activities running in parallel and cut down the time for construction. And that concludes the presentation, and I will be happy to take any of your questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Southwell, for a very informative and very useful presentation. I have no doubt that there will be questions at the end. We now move on to our final presentation, which is broken into two parts. It is on investment opportunities and incentives. And this presentation will be by Mr. Henderson Fields, the Executive Director for the Antigua and Barbuda Investment Authority, and Mr. Jermaine Jarvis, Deputy Commissioner of the Inland Revenue Department. Mr. Fields has enjoyed a banking career that covered in excess of 25 years, where he acquired wide experience, particularly in the area of banking operations and executive management. He then ventured into investment promotion and facilitation. Mr. Fields joined the Antigua and Barbuda Investment Authority in May of 2007 at its inception of the nation's investment promotion agency, and initially held the position of Investment Facilitation Director. In 2013, he assumed the role of Executive Director, taking full responsibility for the management and administration of the organization. Mr. Jermaine Jarvis is the Deputy Commissioner, Audit and Investigations of the Inland Revenue Department. He also serves as a member of the Cabinet Subcommittee on Revenue and Expenditure. In addition to his work experience and education in taxation, he has been formally trained as a transfer pricing trainer at the OECD Multilateral Tax Center in Mexico City. For him, taxation is not only his field of study and work, but it is also his passion. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Can I be allowed to share my screen?
You should be able to share your screen, perhaps someone else. Mr. Southwell, can you close your screen? Perhaps that's why they are not able to share.
Okay, thank you, Consul General Lane, for the introduction. In the interest of time, can it be allowed to accept all protocols as previously established? Good evening all. Special good evening to all those in the Canadian diaspora. I wish to share with you this evening on the Antigua and Barbuda investment regime. Sorry, just. Yes. Under the Investment Authority Amendment Act, Antigua and Barbuda Investment and Incentives Program is linked to these targeted growth sectors that are here on the slide that were identified by the government of Antigua and Barbuda. These include agriculture and fisheries and agribusiness, business process outsourcing, creative industry, energy, financial services, health and wellness, ICT, manufacturing, and tourism, you will note also that the Cabinet of Antigua and Barbuda can identify any other priority area for development, along with these 9 that are already being established. As we look at available investment opportunities to supplement what would have been discussed, highlighted previously, we see a need for a eco boutique hotel within the tourism industry, with the option to have a included health and wellness center and the ability to provide eco tours, or it could be a standalone with one or a combination of segments. Also, there is a need for a processing facility for the processing of juices, in particular from a wide variety of available fruits, where wastage and spoilage is experienced year to year. Obviously, we'll be looking at all local fruits that are grown here. These two opportunities we see would fit very nicely into the Willoughby Bay project that was highlighted earlier. In addition to these, we recognize that Antigua imports basically all of its paper products, toilet paper, toilet tissue, napkins, and the like. In an effort to offer some export within the region, as well as satisfying the local demand and thereby realizing import substitution, we think that this is an opportunity that ought to be considered, a manufacturing plant for paper products. I am aware that the Caribbean Export Agency, which is the regional trade and export development agency, in collaboration with the government of Antigua and Barbuda, is undertaking a feasibility study in Antigua, just recently started, to determine whether or not such a project is feasible. Feasible, while yes, there's a need for, as I indicated, import substitution and potential exports within our neighboring islands. This study will determine whether or not a project, a plant located here, can be viable and sustainable to a potential investor. Another area of opportunity is in the area of business process outsourcing, where the development of a turnkey contact, a call center facility to house a variety of potential BPO operators, we see a need for. When we sort of compare what presently exists with some of the leading jurisdictions across the Caribbean region who attract BPO business, one of the things that they have basically as a competitive advantage is a number of facilities that potential investors can look at and say, hey, this is ready to go for me to get into this type of business. This is certainly something that I would like to see develop here in Antigua and Barbuda. ICTs, particularly the development of apps and the animation business, is certainly another opportunity where we can engage the minds of our bright young school laborers who are very technology savvy to get into this area, enhancing economic growth and, without a doubt, providing quality jobs. And the final investment opportunity that we want to highlight this afternoon is in the area of entertainment. I recall that Mr. Clement earlier mentioned from his presentation on the port development, the plans are an opportunity for a bowling alley. We would like to sort of expand that beyond just a bowling alley, but a full entertainment center, including a bowling alley, yes, roller rink, and game arcade. With all these different components, providing food dining options. Let me just share with you on a very important subject to potential investors. As investors consider investing in a particular jurisdiction, they are generally very interested in finding out the level, the quantum of concessions that are available to support them. Under the Investment Authority Act, broadly, concessions are available for those specific sectors that were outlined in my first slide in the area of exemption or reduction on the payment of duties and taxes on capital items at the port of entry, reduction of stamp duty on land transfers on non-citizen landholder license fee, an exemption or reduction on the payment of corporate income tax and withholding tax. These incentives under the Investment Authority Act, eligibility starts with projects with a capital investment of value of $3 million and up. But this does not exclude the small businesses from accessing concessions. Under the Small Business Development Act, there are also concessions available for businesses whose capital investment must be no more than $3 million, annual sales turnover no more than $2 million, must be majority owned by a local or locals, and employ up to 25 persons. They also, under this act, are eligible for the types of concessions that are outlined here, particularly import duty on capital items, vehicles for the use in the construction and operation of the business, exemption or reduction on the payment of income tax and withholding tax up to a period of 5 years, reduction of stamp duty on documents for loan security, and reduction of stamp duty on land transfers and non-citizen landholder license fee up to 75% in respect of land and buildings to be utilized in the operation of the business. As I said, there are obviously qualifying criteria to be eligible under the Small Business Development Act. And you must first become a approved small business, which is a simple application process done through us here at the Antigua and Barbuda Investment Authority to move the process forward. Must point out as well that in addition to the incentives that are available under those two acts, the Investment Authority Act, as well as the Small Business Development Act, Cabinet in its wisdom, shortly after the pandemic came to our shores here, during early last year, implemented a policy called the Investment Property Initiative, allowing investors who are looking to invest in property development to access import duty and ABST on the capital items that will be used in the construction and development of this property. The slide that I have here in front of me now is a table, a snapshot of the various concessions that are available under the Investment Authority Amendment Act. This amendment took place in 2019. And again, it relates back to those 9 priority sectors. And there are 6 categories where businesses can be eligible, with category 1 starting from 3 million up to 10 million EC dollars with the US conversion. Then category 2 from 10 to 30 million, category 3 30 to 60, category 4 100 million, category 5 100 million to 150, and category 6. These are products with capital investment in excess of 150 million EC dollars. You can see that from this table, the qualifying criteria to be eligible for concessions is a combination of the capital, investment capital, as well as the job creation opportunities. And then that puts you into a particular category as outlined here. And again, as you go higher up in the category, the quantum of incentives increases. I now want to direct your attention to an initiative called the Construct Antigua and Barbuda Initiative, CABI for short. CABI is a government economic stimulus program that was established back in 2011 to make home ownership more affordable by reducing construction costs by approximately 15 to 20% to first-time residential homeowners. Based on the most recent criteria that was provided by Cabinet for eligibility for these benefits, this program is eligible to citizens and residents of Antigua and Barbuda, where the cost to construct the home does not exceed 500,000 EC dollars. The objectives of the CABI program, obviously stimulating economic activity, but specifically to create employment in the construction industry, and also to build confidence in the economy via government policy. If we look at some of the benefits that eligible homeowners can avail themselves of under the Construct Antigua and Barbuda CABI initiative. Zero rated ABSD on building materials, aggregates, and the like that are procured from registered CABI suppliers. ABSD zero rated services from participating service providers such as lawyers, architects, and other professionals who are involved in the whole process of developing and constructing a residential home. The CABI registered suppliers also offer store discounts on building materials and supplies, fixtures that are procured locally. The banks and insurance companies also are participating in this initiative and offering reduced interest rates, as well as reduced negotiation and commitment fee. And insurance companies are offering discounts on premiums from those obviously who are participating in the program. The participation basically involves you registering as a CABI supplier, and then that allows you basically to be able to offer the discounts and benefits to potential homeowners. The diaspora obviously is treated a bit differently in relation to requirement for procuring the materials and items that are used in the construction locally. And we have certainly would have had that experience going back a few years ago when members of the UK diaspora, as well as those in New York, availed themselves of this, the benefits under this program, and decision was taken that they'll be allowed to purchase their items, obviously from the source where they're residing, which is obviously more efficient process for them. And then the items, then as they reach the port here, arrangements are made to have the ABSD waive at the port as against the local residents, who obviously, again, this is all part of ensuring that the benefits trickle down, have to make those purchases through local registered suppliers. So CABI has really shown some significant economic activity over the last number of years. And with the government taking the initiative last year to increase the threshold to $500,000 and also to include renovations and expansions as part of the program, it certainly has tremendously increased the number of applicants that we would have seen over the past 8 months as a result of that initiative by the government. In concluding, I wish to share with you some of the top reasons to invest in Antigua and Barbuda. Antigua and Barbuda is a stable country, both politically and socially, with a strong democratic system of government. It is one of the most secure and safe countries in the Caribbean and compares very well worldwide for low crime rates and the rule of law. Antigua and Barbuda is one of the more prosperous states in the entire Caribbean, with tourism, business services, financial services, some of the largest sectors of the economy. And to sort of highlight the prosperity that would have been demonstrated over recent times in the Antiguan economy, between 2016 and 2019, Antigua and Barbuda achieved GDP growth rates between 3.1% and almost 7%, representing some of the highest GDP growth in the entire Caribbean. In addition, Antigua and Barbuda also boasts of one of the highest per capita income in the entire Caribbean as well. The literacy rate in Antigua and Barbuda is over 95%, which reflects a consistent focus on investment in education by the government. Antigua and Barbuda has developed significant human resource skills in tourism, information technology, enabled services, financial services, and the like. And a network of colleges as well as accreditation and certification bodies ensures that skills quality meets world standards. Further, the government of Antigua and Barbuda policy is aimed at ensuring that the skills being produced match competitive business requirements. Antigua and Barbuda, being a member of the OECS sub-region, within a common central bank and currency area. The EC currency used here in Antigua and the rest of the OECS is pegged to the US dollar at a rate of 2.71 EC dollars to $1 US. This obviously has the risk of investors investing their hard-earned money here and then being faced with rate fluctuations that could potentially put them at a risk, a financial risk. Here in Antigua and Barbuda as well, the country has no foreign exchange controls or restrictions on capital repatriation. So you come in, you set up your business becomes profitable, and you come to the point of wanting to repatriate some of your profits. There are no restrictions as far as that is concerned. In concluding, I would wish to direct you, members of the diaspora, Canadian diaspora, to our website, Antigua and Barbuda Investment Authority website, www.investantiguabarbuda.org. There you'll find lots of information that can assist you in making an informed decision as far as investing in Antigua and Barbuda. There is also a link in our website that takes you to an iGuide, which provides more comprehensive data, information on our labor laws, and all the information that a potential investor would be interested in assisting him in making that informed decision. So with our investment opportunities and the associated incentives, generous pack of incentives, where the government is basically foregoing taxes, basically, which essentially subsidize your investment. And this puts you in a better position as an investor to achieve the rate of return that you desire. And we see this as then allowing benefits to redound to the nation of Antigua and Barbuda in the way of wide economic growth, employment gains, technology transfer, and skills upgrade of our citizens. So clearly, it's a win-win situation. So I encourage you to certainly look at our website, review all the information that is necessary, that you think is necessary to make an informed decision to invest here in Antigua and Barbuda, recognizing that the Will Be project provides good opportunities for you to target your investment opportunities. That concludes my presentation, and I thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Okay, I believe we have concluded our presentations. Am I correct?
Yes, we have.
Okay, thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, we are now at the question and answer period. As I mentioned earlier, if you have a question, you may use the hand button at the bottom of your screen. Or if you are feeling shy, you can send your questions through the chat and a member of staff will read them out. I open the floor for questions.
Watch the raised hands. Madam Chairperson, my hand is raised, I think.
Sorry, I'm not seeing anything, but please go ahead.
First, let me thank the organizers of this forum and also thank the presenters. Quick to my question is that there are many opportunities here for investment. And I'm just wondering, considering that the diaspora is overseas or out of the country, what assistance is made to facilitate some of these by expediting processes? For example, if one wants to build something, the process of application for permits, building permits, et cetera, does go through a long process and takes a long time. So if someone were to say, take a couple of months to go down and start something and then maybe come back to work and then go back down, it's not as easy to get those permits in good time so you can start something I'm just wondering if something could be put in place at the DCA's office to facilitate overseas persons, not wanting to jump the line or get special treatment, but just to facilitate and expedite certain processes. Secondly, now that we hear that WEOC is selling shares, and I made inquiries right after it was announced on the 24th of March, and the office in Antigua is telling me that I have to be there in person to sign my form in front of the whomever person is responsible in order to process or complete the process of buying shares. And I said, well, how am I going to get out of the country? We all have the lockdown and et cetera, et cetera. So again, another area where some sort of assistance could be made to facilitate this process. I have my form completed right here with me, the 2 pages, but I can't fax them because they have to be signed in front of the person. I think his name is Mr. Jean. So those are my questions for now. Thank you.
Thank you for those questions. And I will certainly turn the floor over for responses, but Minister, perhaps there's an
let me attempt Mary, to answer those questions that I asked. And I do understand and agree that there is now a need, as we set about to interest Antiguans and Barbudans in the diaspora to make investments and to become real players, actors in the economy, that we have to strengthen the structures whereby and through which their participation can be made possible. And so the whole challenge that is being faced by the question or the person posing the question about investing in WEOC, I've taken note of it. I will raise it tomorrow with the management of WEOC because we cannot be on one hand inviting our citizens to make investments and to make critical intervention injections and not have processes to facilitate. So I take that as a weakness of the system, and I commit from the diaspora desk to deal with it to the extent that we have solutions, which will come back to you through the CG to make known to the Antiguan public.
Minister, just to remind that I'm sure obviously you know, the Vienna Convention allows the consulate to act as notary, so perhaps that's something we can explore.
Timely reminder, thanks.
And just to remind you, Minister Green, the deadline for these shares, I think it's middle of April, sorry, 21st of April.
I will act as early as tonight by sending a note to Gregory Georges of the interest out of Canada. I'm sure that other diaspora communities, because we're on this path now of inviting our citizens to invest. And not only we, but to make critical interventions. And so we must tighten and strengthen the systems. We'll start with WEOC because this is a case-specific matter that's brought to attention.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. We have another question from Mr. Mills. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. Obviously, if half of these plans go through, which I hope more than half go through, Antigua and Barbuda would need a lot more, a secure supply of water, electricity, and the sewer system. In the various plans put forward, those 3 components, sewer system, water supply, electricity supply, being seriously considered. Thank you.
Madam Chair, my question about the building permits, etc. Does DCA have any comments?
Yes. If the type of development you're doing does not require an environmental impact assessment to be done, you can have a planning permit approved within 2 weeks. Once you submit the plan and you have all the supporting documents and there are no issues, we can have it approved even in less time than that. if it involves an environmental impact
Mr.
assessment.
Soto, yeah, I just wanted to just add quickly to that, apart from the environmental impact. What we're seeing here is the government making a direct move to have the diaspora more involved in development in the country. And we have to have some strong pathways that will allow them to have a better ease of doing business, because the lady who asked that question, you can see through those questions a lot of similar concerns that people in the diaspora have when they have to come to Antigua even to build a home.
Yes.
So perhaps what we should do is to find out, just as how the consulate can act as a notary, as a notary public. You know, perhaps what we could do is to develop the diaspora desk in a way that will allow us to interact with our consulates to get these things done, even without them having to come to Antigua to confront that 2 weeks waiting period. So they could be up
Amen,
there
amen.
and work through the consulate and yourself, and create and also the diaspora desk to create that avenue, that channel, so that our diaspora can stay in their homes wherever they are and interact and do business in Antigua. And I think that the minister would agree with me that it's something in the making, and this is just the beginning. We're coming out to outreach to you, and we welcome all of these advice, all of these constructive criticisms, so that we can make this product that we're attempting to sell to you much more enjoyable when you're palating it.
May I also say that the Development Control Authority is in advanced stages of implementing an electronic portal where persons can submit their plan applications online, and the approval, and can pay for their approved plans online. And so the person can be in another country and submit their application and also monitor what's happening with the application. They can go online and see exactly what stage of in the approval process the application is. And we're hoping that this portal would streamline the process even more. This should be up and running before the year is out.
Thank you. We have a general question that was posed through our YouTube link. The individual is asking about how they can buy stocks in banks.
Well, I can speak to like the ACB situation, but not the general one. Like if you wish to buy shares in the ACB bank, you would have to show that interest to the directors, and they will decide whether or not there are shares available for that individual who wants to buy. Another route is that there are people who currently have shares in the bank that would like to dispose of them, even though the general policy is that the directors have a right to first refusal. Negotiation with the actual shareholder and then make that application put you in more favorability to have those shares. But I do believe that very soon the ACB would start to divest and put the company public, especially because they are expanding now through the Caribbean, and there is going to be need for that type of investment to create more capital growth inside of the bank. So I think it's something that will be coming soon. And I also believe that now the people who have shares, it's posted, it's a public information. And there are some that I know that sells their shares and others that will sell. And those are the type of current opportunities that are there in the ACB.
Let me just add very quickly, Ambassador Joseph, just this week or last week, I believe, there was a public announcement by the Antigua Commercial Bank that the shares that are now available to be sold by individuals at the bank will now be handled by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. It has been a challenge in the past because the records were not up to date and it was a bit of a challenge. And so they've actually moved to make that process a lot more transparent, if you will, and easier accessible. As it relates to shares, the other shares that you can buy, because the nature of their structure, the St. John's Cooperative Credit Union, the Community First Credit Union, by virtue of their structure, you can start to invest in the bank in terms of opening an account, because an account not only gives you your savings, but it also gives you share opportunity as well. In fact, they had their annual general meeting today, and as long as you're a member of the bank, it's good. You get some good incentives, and I think that's an easier part, but certainly Antigua Commercial Bank. And I'm expecting as well, when ECAB takes over Scotiabank, they probably will have the same opportunities available to us.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? I don't believe there are any other questions coming up on YouTube. So I think we have
Ms. Lane, there was a
Eric.
Eric Delfish.
I'm sorry, there's a hand, Mr. Delfish. Please go ahead.
Yeah, just a question to DCA. Why is there a multi-approval process? If you have a building code and you have some zoning guidelines, why does someone have to come multiple times to DCA to get an approval?
Okay, you submit your plan application to the DCA, and if the plan needs to be vetted by other agencies, the DCA is the one that would take your plans to the other agencies to be vetted. So you don't really have the runaround to do. You just bring the plans to the DCA, and if they require vetting by other agencies, we will have that done and then give you the final approval.
That's not what I was referring to. You said they bring a plan at the preliminary stage, you give approval, then they have to bring it back at the complete design drawing stage. And then further on, you indicated that approvals can be given in bits and pieces, like they can start the foundation, and then they can start another part, and then they can start another part. So unless you have a lot of resources, it sounds like a lot of back and forth.
Okay, that's a good question. I was really referring there to very, very large projects like a hotel, where somebody wants to build a hotel. They won't want to come in with detailed construction drawings initially, because those could run into hundreds of thousands of dollars just to produce those drawings. So with these big projects, they may just submit a concept for approval in principle. And if, when we look at the concept and we say that, well, that concept could be done, that development is possible within that area, and they're given approval in principle, then they would have to go ahead to spend the money to develop their detailed architectural drawings. Now, some of these big projects, to produce these detailed construction drawings sometimes takes months. And so to cut down time, what we say is once the concept, the approval is principle is given and the concept is approved, then they don't have to wait to develop all the drawings before they can start construction. They can do the detailed drawings with the foundation first. We approve that and they can start the build right away. While at the same time, they're taking their time to develop the drawings to the walls, drawings to the roof, you know. So that's what so it's a way of cutting down time for these very big projects, because to wait and develop all the construction drawings up front can take many months. And so we just have a system in place where it cuts down that time, where several things can go on in parallel and cut down the time. But if you want to build a house, you can submit your architectural drawings up front. And once everything is okay and EIA is not required, you can have them approved within a week or two.
Okay, thanks for the clarification, because when you made a presentation, I don't think you were specific that you were speaking about big projects. I understand fully if it's pertaining to big projects only.
Yes, you're welcome.
Are there any additional questions, clarifications?
Just another clarification or just some information. One gentleman asked a very important question about water and sewage supply with all of these investments that are going on. And we need to say that the government is working in a very strong and spirited way with regards to making Antigua and Barbuda water supply becomes even enter into a surplus in terms of its daily use. We are now installing several desalination reverse osmosis plants around the country, and we are in the process of ordering another reverse osmosis plant, which would provide us with an additional 3.5 million gallons of water. So we will have a total water supply in the not too distant future of more than 15 million gallons per day. And we will have a well supply of water. Even up in the Willoughby Bay area, there is earmarked for that 3 million gallons a day water production. And that plant is now up for tendering. And that may be something also that we should ask the diaspora to do. Always go to the website for the government in Antigua and Barbuda with regards to the tenders board, because there are also a lot of opportunities there for supplying our government with much needed supplies and equipment and other things right there, because even that project for the 3.5 million gallons of water is now currently out for tendering. So those are some other investment opportunities that are available in Antigua and Barbuda. So just on the waterfront, we are making moves to do that. And moves are also afoot to put a sewage system in downtown St. John's, and that is currently on the table being discussed and designed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Ambassador, could I also add that this project at Willoughby Bay, we did come up with plans for central sewage system that would all the developments would feed into. And also on that, near to that site is a very large solar energy field that's already constructed and is just to be mobilized. And the Department of Environment did speak about an energy initiative where they can partner with certain countries like Japan to develop alternative energy as part of that development as the project goes on.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chair Lady, real quick, I just want to add to the discussion because the gentleman spoke of waste treatment, water, and electricity. And one of the recent occurrences is that through APUA, has been awarded a contract for the construction of an LNG plant in the Crabs area. As a matter of fact, the Port Authority is now venturing on to expanding the Crabs Channel to facilitate the importation of LNG into that area with larger ships that would create a more efficient delivery system. And at the same time, with LNG transforming the cost of energy throughout the entire grid. The expectation is that there would be reduction in the cost of electrical based on that arrangement that APUA has put in place. So there is the development of greater capacity in terms of energy. And that expansion, by the way, will also facilitate the improvement in the supply of critical cement, which is something that impacts the construction sector. As a matter of fact, the limited capacity that ships can deliver cement into the silo at Crabs ensures that the cost of cement is actually high. With the expansion of the Crabs Channel and the ability for the ships to bring volumes, we should see some transformation in terms of the delivery price, and that should also meet the market. So that development is actually happening, and we should be expanding and dredging that channel in short order. So just wanted to highlight that as well.
Thank you. We also have some questions about the Willoughby Bay project. What is the estimated time for completion? Are there any HOA condo fees on the townhouses? And are floor plans available?
Okay, Madam Chair, maybe I was waiting to see if Kevin would want to answer that, but let me just say that the Willoughby Bay project is now being conceptualized. And we had our first presentation of this initiative in Antigua and Barbuda around 7 months ago, and it was well received. And the Prime Minister believed that this project must be transformational in nature to create the type of impact and the type of economic diversification in terms of the space, the island space that we need. And the eastern side of the island presented that great opportunity. I don't know if Kevin mentioned, because I was off for a while accidentally, that in the entire project, we're hoping for human habitation of around 4,500 persons when the project is fully completed. It's almost like a new town we are planning up there. So the TOD4 that Kevin went into detail with is just a very minuscule aspect of that project. We have activities going across Potworks Dam into Betty's Hope, creating a system, what we call the Liberty Heritage Train, where we can have tourists looking at the tambourine tree and the famous tambourine tree and our liberation with regards to workers' struggle from the tambourine tree right up into Betty's Hope to show one of our largest plantations during the days of when sugar was king in Antigua. We will have rum tasting up there. So it gives you a way to, you can invest into even that train, that little train line, you know, the sugar train line, like that we will have going from the tambourine tree all the way up into Betty's Hope. You know, we estimate that that can bring in revenue of over $2-3 million a year based on the tourist traffic and so forth, that will be there. So just quickly, it is a project that is conceptualized to transform that eastern side of the island. We are now looking towards all of these concepts that Kevin presented, but we are open to ideas. We're open to ideas. Very soon we're going to put up a website, because you might have a vision to say, well, some of these condos or townhouses might need to be, a little bit located a little further away from each other, because you're in the Caribbean and you might not want to have yourself so cooped up, and we have to look at those situations too. So all in all, give us around another 3-4 months, and we will be able to, of course, through the consulate up there, give you some more details as far as the Willoughby project is concerned.
Thank you, Ambassador. So we have time for one more question. Mr. Mills, I believe you were trying to ask a question.
Well, I think the question was answered, thank you, by several people related to water, electricity, and sewage.
Okay.
But with respect quickly to the Willoughby project, I don't know if I missed it, but would there be, let's say, a fire station, a healthcare center, a community center, that type of amenities in the plan?
Well, of course, we're going to have all of that. Just last week, I had a visitation from the fire police head in All Saints, where they are asking for them to be zoned with the Willoughby project, and have a unit there, have a fire station there that can serve the eastern side of the country. So we look at all of that. And I must congratulate you for those questions, because those are important infrastructural type activities and initiatives that we are considering, and we have to put in place to ensure that the Willoughby area become first class and can stand to international best practice as far as infrastructure is concerned.
Thank you.
Let me also add that this whole area will not be comprised of all hard services construction. There will be a significant amount of area that would be green, natural area, where you can have parks and pastures and areas for recreational hikes and walking and so on. So the amenity factor would be a significant part of this development. And to have a development and you have a significant amount of greenscape among it would be part of the tropical attraction to the area.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I believe that final point brings us to the end of what I would say was a very useful evening. I would like to first off thank Minister Green for being with us this afternoon, to Ambassador Davin Joseph, and to the members of the Investment Committee. Thank you for taking the time to be with us, to sharing all of these investment opportunities with us. I think from the questions that were raised, you can see that the Antigua and Barbuda diaspora in Canada is interested. It is looking for opportunities to engage. And I believe that this is just one of many virtual forums that we will have over the next several months. I would certainly invite the members of the community who didn't raise questions, a question hasn't come to mind. If you have questions, please send us an email. We will pass the questions on and get you a response. Thank you all for taking the time to join us. Thank you to Miss Fabian and Gwendolyn Green and Matara Richards, who worked with us to pull this event together. We certainly could not have done it without their work. And so thank you all. Have a good evening. Stay safe.